Welcome back to Tarot by the Bay. I'm David. This is going to be a reading on Steve Bannon. But first, I got a special announcement. Come check out Twin Tarot with Gary and David, our new YouTube channel that I share with my identical twin brother Gary. I'll have a link in the description and a little placard over here for you to click on to check out our videos. If you enjoy these readings, you'll have twice as much fun when the two of us go bounce off each other and create mayhem. So, Twin Tarot with Gary and David. Check it out. All right. Hat goes away. The cat will play with it. Ooh, I should put it where you can see it. That didn't take long, did it? Elle's like, is that a new toy for me? You're so generous. Okay, Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon. He's up for trial at the end of May in Judge Merchan's court. That ought to be entertaining. But before he gets there, he might be incarcerated in federal prison. The D.C. Court of Appeals ruled last week, I believe on Friday, according to this article, that Steve Bannon's appeal about his contempt of Congress conviction was overturned. So basically there's no basis for this appeal. Federal prosecutors on Tuesday requested the judge. His name is Nichols. He's a Trump-appointed judge. We shouldn't need to know that, but sometimes it explains a bit of the story. Saying there's no reason not to, remand him to prison. There's nothing left to rule on. The appeals court already rejected his appeals on all grounds. So Steve Bannon has a 4-month prison sentence that he gets to start, and it should be starting soon. So I want to read on that. When will he start his prison sentence? And I also kind of want to read on the judge to get a vibe on him, because if they have to go to the judge and say there's no legal basis not to incarcerate him, the judge should already know that. Now, maybe that's normal course of action, but we're not in normal courses of times. So let's start off with the judge. Give me a little bit of background on this judge, because I just get the vibe that maybe he's trying to figure out ways to delay the inevitable here. Okay, entertainment purposes only. Judge Nichols, what can you tell me about him? Okay, Two of Wands. Maybe it'll just tell me about this case with him. It's planning. Looking at the big picture, looking ahead to the future here. Now, again, if he puts Steve Bannon in prison now for 4 months, that's going to take him May through September. That is prime time for the presidential run here. What's that crossed with? Yeah, doing your job. Looking at the big picture and how things work out versus, doing your damn job. That's pretty straight. Underneath it all, the Nine of Coins. The Nine of Coins is about appreciation for the fine things that you have. This just might be, he needs to make a decision. No, I'm not saying he's political, but for the sake of this reading, let's say he's a little bit on the political side and he's trying to figure out a way to do this. You have a job to do, and this is like one of those great gigs, one of those lifetime gigs that you get, and do you really want to blow it type of thing. In the past, you have the Four of Swords. Bannon again got sentenced to 4 months. He appealed it. That appeal he's been waiting on the results of the appeal. The results of the appeal have now come forward. It's time to do something. It's time to get off the pot. You've been sitting long enough. The current situation is the Devil card, though. Putting him in now could be rather detrimental to Donald Trump and Donald Trump's campaign, but a judge shouldn't be considering that. He should be considering the equal application of the law regardless of this person's circumstance. Steve Bannon does not need to stay out of prison for 6 months. There's no reason for it. Some folks like professional athletes might ask, Can you incarcerate me after the season's done so that I don't lose out on my livelihood? I have seen courts work around athletes for stuff like that because they have a reason to be out. Steve Bannon's no athlete by the look of him. He could use a shave and a haircut. The overarching energy is the Queen of Cups. If he's going to do something, he can't afford to show bias. He's got to keep a lid on things. If he's got a bias to helping Trump or helping Bannon, he's got to keep a lid on that or even tamp it down. Again, you've got this great gig. Do you really want to blow it? The lesson to be learned is the Hierophant. Yeah, I guess that's kind of one of those things when you're a judge, You kind of have to, you're supposed to put away your political biases and rule for the law. And this is an institution that you're talking about here, the federal court system. What's the outcome? Ten of Swords. End of the day, this judge just has to look at it. It's like, Bannon, actually, this is the next case with Rashawn. It's, Congress subpoenaed you. You chose not to go. And the case got tried. You lost. You appealed. You lost the appeal. There's nothing I can do to protect you at this point. Next time Congress calls you, you better go. You're going to prison. So I think this judge is not going to be waiting very long on sending Steve Bannon to prison. And that is a good thing. That's justice served. But Bannon is allowed to appeal, hence justice delayed. But that's a part of our justice system, is allowing for those appeals. Okay, so that appears to be good news from the judge's point of view. Let's just look at the energy of Steve Bannon with regards to this contempt of Congress. Is there anything, Spirit, you want to share with us regarding this case or his pending incarceration? Or actually, more to the point, assuming the judge acts quickly, what will be the impact of Steve Bannon being incarcerated and not running his mouth on his MAGA-friendly podcast that he runs? Which I don't know the name of it, but I'm sure it's got the name War or Patriot or Freedom or Liberty in it because, it's the Patriots of War, Liberty, and Freedom. They are so unoriginal in their naming of things. Okay, Steve Bannon. What will be the consequences to the election with Steve Bannon not out there spewing his nonsense? And spew is the right word. The Lover's card. There's going to be, it's like a breakup of it breaks up the information. Instead of, the MAGA folks coming together, it breaks them up. And in some ways, if he's not out there causing people to be divisive, they could come together. It's like having that one person who keeps telling you your friend talks bad about you, and then they go to your friend and says that the other person is talking bad at you, and that person is, gone. All of a sudden, the drama goes away. We got the Queen of Wands underneath here. Actions taken. Death card. Oh, interesting. And actions taken. I don't know if he does. I don't know if he has like a guest host on his podcast. You would think he would want somebody to substitute for him. It could be a woman substitutes for him, like Marjorie Taylor Greene. I think she's been on his show a number of times. So you would need somebody. It's like you'd have to call in a favor, a woman of action, like a Marjorie Taylor Greene, to take over his podcast. But I think if he's off the air for 4 months, a lot of people leave. A lot of people leave his podcast. It also, it closes a chapter in the divisiveness that his podcast causes. So instead of having that, you get this. There's endings here. If he's in prison, there's endings that are coming out here. Stuff that he would keep alive and going are gone. Look at all these major arcana too. In the past, the emperor, again, he was a presidential advisor to Trump, and now he sits on the throne of his little podcast here, and he's the emperor of his realm. But while he's in prison, he's got to find somebody to sit in for him. Again, we've got another woman here. It would be like a Marjorie Taylor Greene type person. But she's not very eloquent. So I'm not sure who he would have fill in for him. I'd have to look that up to see, who's filled in for his podcast. Let's see if I can find some info. Okay, we bring you back. War Room, because of course. I didn't say who serves as like a substitute host on his podcast. Maybe he doesn't have one. Maybe he should get one. He needs to find somebody to act as a custodian for it, lest his podcast die off. I'm focusing on the podcast. The question was, how does it impact the election? I think, it's like if he's not there, things calm down. It's just kind of that, people don't have this misinformation jammed down their throat. Look at all this feminine energy with the Queen of Wands, the Empress, the Strength card. It's like the divine feminine kind of takes over. If he's in prison, things are going against the patriarchy. They're going against the way that he would have them. Women on the rise, women showing strength. The lesson to be learned. It's funny. Bannon did this to himself by not going to Congress. All he had to do was sit and testify. Plead the fifth a half a dozen times. Well, 500 times. So he did this to himself. His own arrogance did this to himself. And it could be his own arrogance takes away his own power. If he's not there minding the store, people leave his podcast. They may not come back. They'll find something else to do with their time. They won't be interested in him when he comes back. Maybe something happens with Trump that basically makes him irrelevant and kills off his podcast. Remember, these podcasts are just about spreading hate and anger and outrage. And if your main source of outrage is Donald Trump and he's not in the picture, who's going to tune in? They're already bummed out that Trump's not there. They don't care if DeSantis is upset or anything like that. Out comes the magician. How does it impact the election? I think things calm down. It brings an end to some fighting or some division because of the way he presents things. Things get softer and gentler. People move away from it into a calmer area. He's done this to himself, and he's got another court case afterwards. So even after he's done with his 4 months, he may already have been sentenced and getting ready to go to a prison in New York. Out comes the magician. His podcast, he could save it if he's out, but again, if he goes to prison, it's this manifestation. Can he have a podcast from prison? I doubt it. Maybe he would sue to have that. Is this illusion? You got a lot of major arcana on here. I think it's more of illusion. I think if he's gone, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards out of 7, 8. I'm not real excited. If I were an investor in his podcast, I'd be very concerned. Let's put it that way. And again, I think with that magician card, the minute he's out of prison for his contempt of Congress, next time go testify, it's like he's going right back in again for the crimes that he will be, we build the wall thing. I guess that's not, that is a New York State crime because money was collected in New York. So he could end up going to state prison in New York for that too. So Bannon's kind of working his way into irrelevancy. And I'm okay with that. It's a little bit early to read on, it's only a couple weeks, a little bit early to read on Steve Bannon's upcoming criminal trial. I've got time in the next couple weeks to get to that, and I will. I'm not going to miss out on the opportunity to pile on Steve Bannon for a little bit. He's been making life difficult for us for the better part of 7 years, I think it's okay if we pry a little bit into his court cases. Maybe pay a little bit more attention to his court cases than we might otherwise, because we kind of want to see justice get served. The other ironic thing is that whole build the wall thing, he is ripping off Trump supporters. I don't understand Trump supporters. I mean, okay, yeah, he's building a wall and you want a wall built, but he took your money and ripped you off. Why does that not anger you? Shouting to the wind. Anyways, thank you very much for watching this video and supporting my channel. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much for your kind words, your thoughts, your comments, everything you do to feed the YouTube algorithm so this video makes it out to a wider audience. To folks discovering this channel recently or for the first time, welcome to the channel. Glad you found us. I hope you found this reading insightful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.